Welcome back to For the Record. We're talking to Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Brian Hagedorn after a year of controversy and politicizing of the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
If you can't think about a politically charged case that has come before the United States Supreme Court or our court, and you can't at least understand or maybe even identify a situation where you think maybe the law goes one way but your policy views go another, then you're probably not thinking well about what courts ought to be doing. People saw me rule a certain way in the spring, for example, on the governor's safer-at-home orders, like, maybe Justice Hagedorn truly understands why we need to fight the pandemic. And of course, I was looking at the administrative rules under the statutes. Or similarly, with the governor's emergency orders related to, under which he issued face masks. I wasn't thinking at all about whether we ought to have a face mask order, whether it's good or bad, or whether I liked it or didn't like it. I was looking at the governor's emergency powers under the statute and how those read. And it's so important that people understand that that's the question we ought to be asking, at least if we're good judges. And good judges are going to reach outcomes that they don't like. If they're not, then they're not good. They're doing their job.
Last May, Hagedorn sided with the court's liberal justices in voting to keep the governor's safer-at-home order and was overruled by the conservatives on the bench. He again sided with liberals in every lawsuit brought to the court disputing the results of the November election, writing at one point, "The campaign is challenging the rulebook adopted before the season began." A little bit of a different twist on this next question. One of the opinions that you wrote on one of the election lawsuits, you were clearly watching football as you were writing that. Do you like writing your opinions while watching football? Take me a little bit through your opinion writing process.
Yeah. I don't normally, actually, because I usually try to take Sundays off, but that was a unique weekend, certainly, in those cases. Where we had to turn around opinions in a couple hours. Normally when I write cases, it's a very back and forth collaborative process, and it was compressed into a very short period of time that involved actually, some Little Caesars pizza and staying at Chambers awfully late, trying to work through things and get drafts going and revising at home the next day. But that's all right. That's the way those things work sometimes.
You had to receive increased police protection after a lot of the election lawsuits that made it to the court, after some of your decisions on there. I know you said, I don't care what the public thinks. So let me ask you this, though. Has it been difficult or strained relationships or been difficult at a personal level with closer relationships, with church relationships, with people closer to you who may not understand why you're making the decisions that you are?
Sure. I mean, I have a lot of friends who didn't like the policy outcome, of certain decisions that I've made. Maybe some family too, and that's okay. My family, I don't come from a family of lawyers. I'm the only lawyer in my family, so the same questions that people have, in the general public. All I can say is, I'm doing my job as faithfully as I can. The good thing is, the people who know me also know that I'm sincere and I meant what I said. And so I've had people, even family, say, I didn't like how that came out, but I also know that you are trying to do your job with integrity, and I trust you.
Anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up here?
I do want to say this, actually. I do want the people of Wisconsin, our culture and the way we talk about a lot of things is broken. And there are a lot of good people in this state, people who disagree with you and me about lots of things. And the way we talk about our public officials, the way we talk about one another as citizens, I think it's important to renew a sense of civic virtue in the way we engage. We can vigorously disagree about things, but I can say that each one of my 7 colleagues are people who are doing this because they really do want to serve, and they're honorable people. And they're trying to do their jobs faithfully, even if I vigorously disagree with them or their approach at times. And that's important to remember that we're people, and treating people with the dignity and respect that all people ought to be treated with. I hope that becomes a greater part of our culture, which is so tribalized and so polarized. And I say that as a citizen, not so much a justice. People can criticize me for all we want. We show our work, and you can tell me you think I got it wrong, and I'm sure I do get some wrong. I'm saying that as a citizen who cares about where we are as a country, and hope we can renew some sense of civic virtue in the way we talk about one another.
Thanks for joining us today. I'll have our full conversation online at Channel 3000. Have a safe and healthy week.